Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Little Fella Sports Podcast. And today it's a very special episode which we are doing. Of course, it's been a great win for India today. Obviously, we beat England by a very comfortable margin of an innings and 25 runs. And I'm actually joined by Shreyas, and we're going to actually look back at a very special couple of months for Indian cricket. This was. At the end of the pandemic, we obviously had the IPL which started, and of course, the IPL was a great fun after great fun watching cricket after more than 7-8 months, right? But the but all of us were more or less looking forward to this Australia series and the England series, the test matches in those series, and 8 test matches in a row. And it's been an absolute pleasure watching all these 8 test matches. Of course, India came out on the right side in both the series, but um, there were a number of ups and downs, and as a fan it was pretty much a roller coaster from start to finish. So I'm joined by Shreyas here, and we're going to look back at some very critical moments in the last 2.5 3 months in the form of images. Obviously, we're going to try something different in the show, so we'll start with the show. And first of all, I'd obviously like to welcome Shreyas to the show.
Yeah, hi Anirudh. A pleasure to be here. Such a great season, right? No one quite expected the win against Australia, and we did really well at home too. So very happy.
Exactly. So we'll be starting off with where it all started, of course, from Adelaide to Ahmedabad. So 100% we have to start off with Adelaide. And when it comes to Adelaide, of course, India had a great start to the test match. We were looking fine 2 days into the test match, and the test match was, you could say, evenly poised heading into day three. But what happened on day three is pretty much signified by this image. When Virat Kohli had departed, India were 19 for 6, and that game was over, basically. And the 36 all out is like a badge, like Ravi Shastri mentioned after the test series ended, that this is a badge which will stick on to this Indian team forever. But I think more than this batch, I think what signifies this Indian team is what they managed to perform after that, much managed to do after that particular incident. So, Shreyas, looking back at this particular incident, more than 2.5 months after it happened, what are your initial thoughts, and what do you say about what's happened after this?
Yeah, look, I really don't know what to say about this. So obviously, I was quite disappointed, and it was evident in the review show for the first test itself. We were dominating for both the days. We got to a decent score, 250. I think it was a really good score on that pitch, and we got Australia out as well. But I was looking for a fresh Saturday morning. I thought we were going to take the lead, and we were just predicting not score. Target will put Australia to bat in the fourth innings, but some weird things happened, and 36 all out. Yeah, really surprising, and I'm quite surprised the way Indian team came back after that. So yeah, it could have
So
gone
I think
either way that match, but one bad session and it's gone.
Exactly. I think one thing we always associated with this Indian team under Virat Kohli for the past 6 or 7 years, before and after the test matches, we've clearly seen is we fight always. No matter what, we always give it a go. But this was one of the displays where India just completely capitulated, and there was no coming back from that particular performance. So in some ways, it was an aberration, as we clearly saw what happened after that. I think it was clearly an aberration, and this Indian team learned a lot from that. Moving on to the next image, of course. This was after that particular test match. I mean, all the odds were against India. India were the ones under pressure. People were all expecting a 4-0, a drubbing, a humiliation. And on day one, Australia won the toss at the MCG, where it's considered best to bat first. Australia won the toss. Ashwin took the new ball. I mean, not necessarily took the new ball, but came on to the attack very early. Ajinkya Rahane, the stand-in captain, gave him the opportunity and the responsibility to go out and attack Steve Smith, Australia's main batsman. And Ashwin turned up trumps on day one, and India thoroughly dominated day one. So I think this image pretty much signifies the fight immediately India showed after that particular performance, because all the talk post Adelaide was, can this Indian team show some fight? Or are they going to capitulate in the absence of Virat Kohli? But it clearly what happened was India showed a lot of fight, and this image in some ways shows how senior players like Ashwin, Rahane, Pujara, even Jasprit Bumrah, after Virat Kohli left, stepped up massively, and obviously we did end up winning this test match.
Yeah, you're right. Like Steve Smith was one batsman who was feared the most by all the Indian fans before the series, right? So I remember we were discussing in our cricket group. We were just predicting how much runs Steve Smith would score in this series, and every single answer was above 500. So Ashwin had his number in this series, except for that one SCG 100. I think we thoroughly negated Steve Smith, I would say. And look, I mean, he's still a really great batsman, right? Every other team at home, especially Steve Smith, is uh, nearly like Virat Kohli, I would say. So, uh, pretty good
I
job
think,
done by
yeah,
Ashwin. In the pink
I
ball
think the most
test itself, I was quite surprised. He got out for cheap against Ashwin, and we saw it in the IPL too. And somehow he didn't come out of that mindset. I think it was kind of a mind block for Steve Smith. I think.
I think from a matchup point of view, many would have expected Jadeja potentially to cause Steve Smith a lot of problems because the ball turning away and the fact that Steve Smith had a slightly iffy record against left arm spin. But then Ashwin came up trumps, and in some ways, even in the SCG 100, you clearly saw a complete change in approach for Steve Smith. Steve Smith isn't someone who likes to come down the track to spinners. He's someone who likes to play off the back foot. And for him to make that change possibly is a victory for Ashwin in some ways. A great player like Steve Smith. For me, he's probably the best test match batsman in the world at the moment. For him to be forced to change an approach to take on a spinner at his own conditions at home, where I mean traditionally you don't expect too much help for the spinners, right? So in that way, it's a massive win for Ashwin. And in the very same test match, how can you forget about Ajinkya Rahane's performance? Obviously, things haven't gone great for him after that, but the importance of this innings cannot be understated. When Rahane walked into bat, obviously India were in a decent position, having restricted Australia for a pretty decent score. But the scars when it comes to batting were still persistent, and Rahane really had to step up, and as a captain at that point, he was brilliant. Of course, Jadeja, Rishabh Pant, all these guys also contributed to the bat, but Rahane's innings was absolutely wonderful, and definitely for me, I think it's his best test knock. I know he scored that 100 at Lords as well, but for me, considering the circumstances, what had happened before that, the fact that he was standing captain, the pressure, the occasion, I think everything taken into account, this was Rahane's best test match innings, and truly this set the path for India to go on to win that test match. And of course, we all know what happened in the end, right? So your thoughts on this particular image and how important it was.
I think you quite summed this up. I think Anirudh. So this innings exactly changed India's fortunes, and till now, I think to come back from 36 all out is always, it will be really tough, right, for any team after such a humiliating loss. See, even England lost a test match at Chepauk this series. So after they were not able to come back. So to come back after a loss, it takes something to do that. I think kudos to Rahane and every single person in the Indian management who had the faith in themselves and put a really solid performance in this match. Coming to this innings, I think, yeah, as you mentioned, it's the best innings of Ajinkya Rahane so far across all formats, I would say. So this innings clearly pretty changed, and he was good with the captaincy too in the MCG test. He he made all the right decisions. He gave us the new ball, and yeah, it turned out well, and we are 1-1 at the end, and it's all that matters.
Obviously, exactly. I mean, we had already spoken about the situation and the circumstances heading into the test match. And Rahane's every decision he made turned out to be perfectly fine. Even something very small like getting Siraj into the attack slightly later into Australia's innings. He didn't want to throw the new ball immediately to the debutant. And we've obviously seen how well Siraj has done since that game. But the fact that he didn't want to put that extra pressure on him, I think each small decision counted. And that was a very, very important test match for India to what we've achieved even till today. So I think massive kudos to Ajinkya Rahane. But after the
Yeah,
MCG
and
test match, we
I'd
can.
like to talk about Jadeja's importance. So in this innings, he actually showed that he could bat overseas and not overseas, but still he looked like a proper
He could
bat in
bat
the
in the top
IPL.
seven
And
in overseas.
Yeah, exactly. So this quite changed the perception of how people feel. Uh, they primarily see Jadeja as a test bowler. Now he has become a proper all rounder, and he's there to stay.
Exactly. I think Ravindra Jadeja, test bowler, is absolutely world class in my opinion. The test batsman was losing his way a little bit, say 24 months ago, but his performance in the last 2 years have been outstanding. He averages more than 45. His performances in even in England and Australia, I think Jadeja has definitely come a long way, and long may it continue, because for the sake of balance and all that, I think Jadeja is a huge player for India, and hopefully once he's back from injury, he can come in and continue to perform as well as he's done recently. And if we talk about MCG, we'll have to obviously go on next to the SCG Test match. And this SCG Test match, I think Australia really fought back well. I think Australia were dominant from the start. They put India under serious pressure. Steve Smith, obviously we spoke about him. He got that magnificent 100, and they got a lot of runs on the board. And India probably fell short in the first inning. They could have potentially scored a lot more, but they couldn't make use of slightly better batting conditions. And heading into the final day, India were under pressure, and the target was one which India was slightly out of reach. Obviously, we have to talk about Rishabh Pant's 97, absolutely outstanding. I mean, 90, yeah, 97. I think he was absolutely brilliant in that knock, and probably gave India hope of obviously first survival, maybe even winning it, but obviously survival. And then after Rishabh got out, after Pujara got out, obviously everything fell on to Hanuma Vihari, who had a hamstring issue immediately as soon as he walked on to the wicket, and an Ashwin who had a broken back, and a Jadeja who had a broken finger. So it was a case of Australia trying to break down these guys and get into our tail. But what happened in the next, say, 50 overs and 300 balls? These two guys, Hanuma Vihari and Ravichandran Ashwin, nothing. I'm genuinely short of words to explain what they did, because considering the circumstances, the pressure, and the fact that the physical pain they were enduring, and the quality of bowling attack in those conditions, I think these two were absolutely brilliant and deserve a lot of credit for what they did. And we all saw the importance of the draw, because we know what happened at the Gabba, right? So Shreyas, talk a little bit about this particular image and how significant it was for Indian cricket.
It's crazy because usually I'm a little bit pessimistic. You all know that, right? So, but still, I somehow had hope that Ashwin and Vihari and even Jadeja could lead us to a draw after Pant and Pujara they went back to the pavilion, because I didn't see. I was really superstitious at this pretty. I mean, this particular point. I was sitting at the same position. I didn't move on ins. I didn't even come to our WhatsApp group to discuss about the innings. I was that superstitious, and somehow Ashwin did it, right? I mean,
It was a case
look,
of
it's just
two
no
men
this
trying to fight against all odds. Nothing else. You can't
crazy,
explain
crazy
it in a
stuff. Yeah.
different way. It was just a heroic effort. And to be fair to Hanuma Vihari, he had a horrible hamstring injury, which he's obviously aggravated through the course of his injury, and he's just now coming back in domestic cricket. So that showed how bad the injury is. And to be fair to him, you don't know when he's going to play his next test match. But
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
whatever happens, this test match will forever be remembered, and I think he deserves massive credit for that.
This is
So in
just
some ways,
heroic stuff. That's all.
exactly, heroics, which obviously led on to what happened at the Gabba. Talking about the Gabba, it is for me the best ever Test match I've watched as an Indian fan. I can't think of a better one. Coming into this Test match, we already spoke about Ashwin's injury. Ashwin was injured. Even Bumrah got injured. So we had a bunch of newcomers: Shardul Thakur, Natraj, and Washington Sundar. But we have to talk about this partnership between Thakur and Natarajan. When Thakur and Natarajan actually got together, I remember very clearly. I was more worried about the fact that there was talk about rain on days 4 and 5. I was just hoping that these guys can bat, say, 20 overs, and we can get to days 3 and 4 and just take a 1-1 draw with the rain likely to come. But we all know what transpired. Rain did not come, and we know what happened on days 4 and 5. But the way these two guys played on their first test match at the Gabba under that pressure, I'm just short of what Shardul Thakur, some of the shots he played. I still remember that punch through extra covers. That was one from straight from Mumbai Maidans, and you'd not say that this guy is a number 8 player. That's how good some of the shots were. And Washington Sundar's no look 6 over long on. Some of the shots these guys played together. What a brilliant partnership it was initially by these two, right?
Yeah, before coming on to this partnership, So I actually woke up and saw the playing 11. So I was quite surprised to see Natarajan and Washington both starting at the Gabba in the before this the decider against Peak Australia. So Peak Australia in the sense Australian team where everyone's available. So don't scold me. This is not the mighty Aussie team that I am trying to discuss here. So yeah, all I thought was if we could avoid innings victory, it will be a great win for us, and we'll see what we can do against England at home. But this came as quite a surprise because the thing is, we bowled well, we restricted them to around 360. I think that in itself is a great achievement. I feel that Australia should have batted a little bit better and they should have got some more runs in the first innings. And we did that, and it was quite sad to see the frontline batsmen after settling into the crease, they threw their wickets away. So yeah, exactly as you were telling, I was hoping for rain, and if these guys could bat some 20 overs or so, I thought we could save the test match. But of course, they had other ideas, and I mean it's just the kind which they played, right? I mean he hit a
They
counter
played
drive
with
of
no fear.
Mitchell Stark.
Think
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Cummins
And
really made
Shardul
sure
Thakur
that
is that
India was.
type too. So it's just brilliant to watch it. Washington,
Maybe
Shardul both getting 50s.
maybe
So
the fact that they'd hardly played Test cricket before that, and that's probably cleared their mind. They didn't really think too much about it and just played the situation as it is. And both of them obviously deserve a lot of credit. Another very touching image in some ways was obviously this moment where Mohammad Siraj got his fifer at the Gabba. I mean, Siraj went through a lot in the IPL. We all know what his personal issues were, but he came back. He made his debut at the MCG Test match and was very impressive, both MCG and SCG. And at the Gabba, he got his rewards. He got that fifer, very, very well deserved fifer. And Mohammad Siraj has truly been one of the finds of the last couple of months. And I personally could not be any more happier for him. I think some of the criticism he received for his IPL performances against the world's best T20 batsman, arguably in Andre Russell, I think it was slightly over the board. But with social media these days, you're not surprised with anything. But Mohammad Siraj, the test match bowler, I mean, he's been nothing short of a revelation in the last couple of months. And I'm so happy for the fact that he's done so well and he's grabbed his opportunity completely, right? So, talk a few words about Mohammad Siraj and how he's done in the last couple of months.
yeah, I mean it's been quite a revelation, right? Like not only Mohammad Siraj. I mean, looking at our bench, it's quite unbelievable. I mean, there are days we had some really ordinary bowlers bowling for India, but now we've got everyone: Siraj, Umesh, Suvi, and particularly, I love the fact that he had David Warner's number in both the SCG and Gabba test. He bowled really well, and he stuck in fourth stump line, which troubled Warner, and he did his job. So really pleased about it. I mean, both Thakur and Siraj were on 4 wickets, and thankfully Siraj also got his fifer. But there's a time will come for Thakur as well. So yeah, very happy about Siraj.
And all of this happened in the first 4 days. And I mean, what happened on day five was nothing short of a dream or a miracle or whatever you like to call it, because chasing 329, losing your primary opening batsman in the first couple of overs of the day itself, the way Shubman Gill batted for his 91, his counter attack against Mitchell Stark and Nathan Lyon, and then Pujara's defiance, and then finally Rishabh Pant's absolute brilliance. I cannot describe any better how well he played in this particular innings. And this guy has gone through a lot in the last say 12 to 18 months. Some of the criticism, I'd say some were valid, but some were clearly over the board in terms of some guys trying to completely diss him, call him an absolutely useless player, which he clearly isn't, because he already showed in 2018 that he could very well play. No one goes on their first tour to England and Australia and make hundreds that easily, right? Even a frontline batsman. This guy at that age performed, and I was so happy the way he performed at Gabba, and he pulled out one of the very rare miracles you'll see in Test cricket. And for me, it was the greatest moment since the 2011 World Cup, was watching as an Indian cricket fan. So This moment, I mean, can you explain how you felt when Rishabh Pant slapped it past Josh Hazelwood through the long off boundary, and what you really felt in that particular moment?
Yeah, best day of Test cricket as I watched as an Indian fan. That's for sure. I mean, that's a thrilling day. When I woke up, Rohit Sharma was not there in the crease. He got out, and of course, Gill played a really excellent knot. I mean, Pujara supported him very well. Even the Pujara Pant partnership, even in the Sydney Test as well as the Gabba Test, uh, it was game changing. So after that, after Pant hit the four, I don't know. I was screaming in joy. That's all I could say. So clearly the best day of Test cricket I've ever watched.
Yeah, I think there's not even an overestimation in saying that that was by far the best Test match as an Indian fan. We've all watched, and
There's
I
no
think
there's no reach best or anything. This is clearly the best day.
exactly. I think the fact that the situation we were in, the fact that it's in Australia, the circumstances, the players we were missing, the hard, or rather say the toughness of how possible this task was, the fact that we even decided to chase 329 on the final day of his Test series. I mean, all of those factors combined, I think it was just a special moment. And towards the end of the Test match, we all saw this beautiful moment where obviously India finally retained the Border Gavaskar Trophy, which they had won in Australia a couple of years back, and many thought that it was fluke when we won in 2018. People were saying that, oh, Australia were in full strength, they didn't have David Warner, they didn't have Steve Smith. You guys came, turned up full strength, and beat a very understrength Australian team. Let's see what you guys do in 2020-21. We've got all our guys back, and I mean, you guys did have all your guys back, and in fact, we lost most of our guys, and we still managed to beat you with our B or even C team, you could call, and we clearly outplayed Australia and thoroughly deserved that win. And one of the greatest moments of Indian cricket by far, right?
Absolutely, no question about that. So yeah, even Ashwin told his conference is equal to the cup that he won. So yeah, clearly, see that statement. It tells you how he felt about this, and it will be like that for every single player in the team too, and even for Virat Kohli. So this one will be a series to remember forever.
Exactly. It'll be one of those series you'll remember even 10, 20, 30 years down the line and be like, okay, I was right there at this particular moment when this moment happened.
Yeah,
And I think it is one of those things which you'll never forget as an Indian cricket fan. But from that high, we obviously had England coming over to home. First test match was in Chennai. And you could say that even Ashwin mentioned that in his post-match press conference today, actually. He said that after the high, in some ways, we were hungover after that particular series. And it clearly showed in the first test match. I know England won the toss and they had the better of the conditions and all that, but England thoroughly outplayed India. And in some ways, India just weren't in the game. We were completely outplayed. Joe Root with a wonderful 200, continued his from Sri Lanka. And we all know what happened after that, but that particular innings in those conditions, under pressure, I mean, you're the captain, you're the best player, batsman of the team. First game of the series, he was absolutely brilliant, right?
yeah. Like as you said, this was clearly a hangover issue for India. Uh, Somehow, I think England looked like the home side because they played two tests in Sri Lanka, and our batsmen, I think, they didn't adapt quite well to the conditions. So they wanted to take a big first innings lead. They were not looking to draw the test match, so they are quite unlucky with some of the dismissals too, like who bounced off short fielder and went for a catch. Like it happens, right? I mean, somehow they won the test match, and
Clearly a
it
game
was
where
turning.
India weren't just
Yeah,
mentally in it, right? I think after such
yeah,
a victory in Australia, sometimes you may take it lightly coming into the test match at home. I mean, the formidable record we have at home, you can forgive them for saying that, okay, maybe we just weren't at their at 100% intensity. And sometimes at elite sport, it can happen. But of course, from that test match,
yeah,
India had to come back and India were 1-0 down, and we all knew the equation in terms of qualifying for the World Test Championship. India had to either win the series 2-1 or 3-1. And day one of the Chepauk Test match, obviously, both of us were there witnessing this live. Shubman Gill got out very early. Pujara also fell pretty quickly after that. And Kohli obviously got out for a duck. But Rohit Sharma with an absolute masterclass on that particular wicket. Because at that point, we weren't exactly sure whether this wicket was a raging turnaround. So we obviously saw what happened going into the, I mean, later in the test match. But this was one of those wonderful test innings for me. Rohit's best test innings by far. I know he's got a couple of double hundreds also, but still, this for me, considering the situation and the difficulty of the track, this was by far his best test knock. And that 160 in many ways is worth more than the 160 because India managed only 330, but it was more than enough to win, right? So, a word on your favorite player, of course. So, how good was Rohit on that particular day?
Too good, man. I mean, the thing is that even when he got out, it was trying to play a shot, so he was really comfortable. So that's the most important thing. It's not about scoring runs through edges or something, but he looked really, really comfortable in this. No other batsman in that entire test looked like that. So probably Ashwin in the second innings, but still, this was this was one of my best days in one too. So to witness my favorite batsman getting 161 runs in a single day live. Uh, so I'm really happy for Rohit how he has proved himself to be a test opener. I think it was long due for him. Really, very very happy for him and a good day too.
Exactly. I think Rohit deserves a lot of credit for how well he played in this particular test match. And I think it was definitely a masterclass and one that will be remembered for a very long time. But of course, in the second innings, Ashwin had already taken a fifer. There was massive cheers when he came on to bat when he came on to bat for the first dig as well as the second innings also. He ended up getting 100. Of course, he's got his 100 after 2016. This was his first century. He was going through a very lean patch with the bat, and it was truly a special moment. And we also saw how much it meant for him, right? Because the way he came on and the celebrations he did after getting to the 100, he was absolutely magnificent, right? So a word on Ashwin and in general, how special was this particular moment?
Chepok was on fire, Anirudh. I mean, every look he got goosebumps trying to throat, right? I mean, every single person in that crowd was cheering his name, and they were even cheering when Siraj was blocking the ball, helping Ashwin to reach his 100. I mean, that should have been one of his memorable days in his career too. So getting 100 and five for at home in front of a home crowd after being an established player in the team, uh, he just felt like a hero, as he told. It's sad that he didn't get the 10 for. It would have been a light record, but still, this is one of the greatest innings by an Indian all-rounder, I'd say. Because the thing is, no other batsman, they look really authoritative in that pitch on that day. So only Kohli batted a bit, but Ashwin took it to a next level and got the 100. So yeah, really happy about this.
Exactly, and from that particular test match to the historic pink ball test match, Akshar Patel, he's been nothing but a revelation. He had big boots to fill in terms of he was who he was replacing. Jadeja as a king at home. I mean, him and Ashwin together with the ball are magnificent, and the fact that Akshar came in directly for his spot, he had a lot of pressure. And in his first test series, obviously he missed out the first test match due to injury. He bowled very well at Chepauk, but truly he was the way he bowled at the Narendra Modi Stadium in the pink ball test match. I think it was nothing short of brilliant. And a word on how good Akshar has been throughout this series.
Yeah, look, it will be tough for him when he's eventually drop Jadeja, but what player, man, with such accuracy he's bowling. I mean, with such accuracy and pace, every batsman will find it difficult, and rightly so, he got the better of English batsmen this series. Just brilliant bowling. I loved him so much this series. Just
I don't want
fantastic,
to say that
and
India.
he
I
deserves.
don't want to say
Yeah,
that. Yeah, I don't want to say that India did not miss Jadeja because Jadeja at home especially is an invaluable asset to have. But he almost ensured that India really did not miss Jadeja because with the ball he was performing as well as you would have hoped Jadeja did would have, right at home. You would have expected Jadeja to have a big effect, especially against the right hand batsman of the English team, and he was just magnificent through the series, and he deserves a lot of credit for the way he bowled. And considering that it's just his first Test series under pressure, the way he delivered, massive kudos to him, and he deserves a lot of credit for the way he did. And in the very same Test match, we obviously saw a very historic moment. Also, we saw Ravichandran Ashwin getting to 400 wickets, and truly a special moment for Ashwin. And in some ways, it was very important to recognize how good a cricketer he's been for India for the past 10 years. And Virat Kohli was very right in saying that he's an absolute legend for this Indian team. And as fans, I know he's 35, nearly 35, and we're hoping that he continues for a few more years, because at the moment we've really not got a replacement for Ashwin. So the hope is that Ashwin continues to perform the way he's done, and we continue to see how well he's done, right? So hopefully things continue like that. And finally, on the yesterday we saw how good Rishabh Pant was, right? This particular shot, what can you say? Jimmy Anderson with the new ball, a guy who's got 600 plus wickets, the audacity to play this shot when you're playing facing a guy like Jimmy Anderson. Just a word on this shot. I don't want anything else. How can you describe the audacity to go for this shot?
Just crazy, right? Crazy is the word I could think of. So I was just laughing after seeing that. No one expected this, right? I mean, new ball and Jimmy Anderson 600 wickets, zero respect. Take a reverse sweep for six. Yeah, really.
And exactly. And the over
Sound.
before with the new ball, first ball, he came down the track and hit him over mid off. The bravery, the courage to do that against James Anderson, who's probably one of the best bowlers of his generation. I can't describe how good this guy has been recently for us.
Yeah, on the situation he took the responsibility and won the match for us. So really proud of what Rishabh Pant is, and I hope he has answered his critics, and he's here to stay for a very long time. And the word on his keeping to it, it's been fantastic throughout the series. I mean, that's the thing people were saying, right? Like Pant as a keeper is not good, so I think he has answered his critic with respect to that too.
There's nothing you can't improve with time, and I think Punt has shown that little bit of backing, a little bit of faith, and a little bit of confidence in himself, and he certainly replied to most of his credits with his performances, and hopefully things continue in the same way. And eventually he will go through a bad rut, because that happens to every cricketer. And I just hope that every fan who watched him for the past 2 months and enjoyed his batting continue to remember that this guy is capable of this and eventually can go on to perform the way we want to. So hopefully things continue well for Punt. And the final image from the series is obviously Washington Sundar and his batting. We've already spoken about how good he was, and unfortunately he missed out on the 100, but he continued to show that he's a proper player, a guy at the age of 21 who can go on to become anything he wants to be. I don't know whether he wants to long term be a top order batsman or he wants to continue on his bowling, but he can choose what he wants, because this guy can really play.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll get chances in the home games, uh, particularly if Jadeja needs or something, so he can play Akhtar, Ashwin, and Washington. So I think he'll get his chances. He'll eventually get 10 hundreds. I think he has that, right? I mean, with that authority, he played against Cummins and even in this test against the England bowlers. I think he's one for the future. Yeah, even his father. Just now we were discussing how confident he is and how he rates his son. But that might be biased, but still, I think Washington is he will be a important part of Indian team in the future across
I
formats.
think exactly. One important thing is 2.5 months back, none of us, I'm pretty sure even his father, all world wouldn't have said that his son will be a test cricketer with a couple of 90s, and the fact that he can continue to bowl and improve on it. And in just 2.5 months, he's completely changed his reputation. I think from a T20 power play bowler to a guy who can genuinely play in test matches for you. I think he's come a long way. And things are things have to improve with his bowling clearly if he wants to become a frontline bowler. But there's a lot to work with, and hopefully he continues to develop and becomes a very important player for India 2 years. In for years to come. And the final segment of the show, we are obviously going to talk a little bit about a quick set of ratings for the combined set of 8 games for a number of players. So, Shreyas, you can give your ratings first. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, some sure. So I give Kohli and Vihari a 6, and 7 for Ishant, Jinx, Gill, Washington, and Jaddu, and 8 for Bumrah, Siraj, Cheteshwar Pujara, and Rohit. 9 for Akshar, Rishabh, and Ashwin.
Yeah, fair enough. And my ratings, obviously, this is ratings combined for performances from both the series, and we are considering guys who've played only 2 or more test matches. So that because I don't want to judge guys who haven't played enough games, so that will be fair. So obviously, when it comes to my ratings, for rating of 6, I'll go for Kohli, Rahane, Ishant, and Vihari. I think they had a couple of decent performances, but you could say that they did not have the impact some of the other guys had. For the other ratings, Gill, Pujara, Washington, Sundar, and Jadeja, I'd like to give a 7 for each of these guys. And three guys with a score of 8: Siraj, Bumrah, and Rohit, almost thoroughly consistent throughout the series in whatever games they played, and definitely played a huge role in India winning both the series. And finally, a 9 for Ashwin, Akshar Patel, and Rishabh Pant. Definitely the three standouts, the three guys who consistently performed in the games they played, and definitely made a huge impact in both the test series. And we have to say that these 2 months have been nothing short of special. We've already mentioned this before, but historic 2 months for Indian cricket, and these are definitely special times. Hopefully continue to build on it. Obviously we've reached the world test championship final. Hopefully we get that elusive ICC trophy, which has continued to move away from us since 2013. We haven't got an ICC trophy since then. So a World Test Championship final would be nice. We've obviously got the World T20 after that. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. This was one of those shows we just wanted to do off the cuff. We didn't really plan too much for this, but it was just a look back at the last couple of months and how special it's been. So guys, I hope you guys really enjoyed the show. Thanks to Shreyas for joining me today. And guys, so please like, share, subscribe to the channel. We've got a lot of content. I keep saying this, but we've got a lot of plans ahead for the IPL. We've got some special guests lined up for the IPL as well. I hope you guys really enjoy that. So with so much cricket coming up for you, please do like, share, subscribe to the channel. Share the channel content to other friends you if you like the channel. And thanks a lot, guys. I hope you really enjoy the show, and we'll be back with a lot more content. Thank you.